Are you new to homeschooling, or maybe do you just not know what people are talking about when they say classical or Charlotte Mason or unschooling or eclectic styles of homeschooling? I am going to break those down for you today. Hi, I'm Mallory, and I've been homeschooling for 8 years, and today I'm going to share with you what all of these different homeschooling styles mean and give you some examples. A lot of homeschoolers are more than just one kind, so don't feel like, oh, I have to get into one box of a certain style, because a lot of us are several of the styles, and that's kind of what homeschooling is all about, right? It's choosing what fits us, what fits our kids, what fits our family dynamic. And we might cherry pick, like, I like this from this style and I like this from that style. So you know what? There's no rules. You can totally do that if you want to. Let's start with classical. So if you've ever heard of classical education, this is what it means. It's based on 3 different stages: grammar, logic, and rhetoric. So in the grammar stage, that's the younger years, elementary basically, and you're just laying the groundwork. You're teaching the kids how to learn. And because kids are like little sponges at this age, you really are using that to your advantage. And there's a lot of memorization and memory work at this stage, because kids really remember things really well. And it doesn't mean they have to understand what they're memorizing, but if you can use this skill, this memorization skill, to your advantage at this age, then later down the road, when they are older and they are ready to apply like those scientific theories that they've memorized, you can apply them at that point, and they don't have to waste time trying to go back and memorize. It's already in their memory bank. They can just pull out the information and use it. Next is the logic stage, and that begins around 5th grade or so, and it focuses on reasoning and analytical thinking. And if you've ever heard of classical conversations, at this stage, like 7th, 8th grade, that's when they're doing a lot of logic and debate. So this logic stage is where kids are questioning their beliefs, like, why do I believe what I believe? Is what I was told growing up, is that really true? Is that really real? And they're just questioning things, and they might like to argue, and it's just kind of their stage right now. And so this kind of uses that to your advantage to teach them, okay, what are some logical fallacies? Like, is this how you do an argument? And I wish I had the book right now, but I don't. But The Fallacy Detective, I will put a picture up here. The Fallacy Detective is excellent for that. And if you have a student that might be interested in being a lawyer, because my oldest is definitely interested in being a lawyer, I think he has all of the things that would qualify him to be a lawyer. I highly recommend that book. So the logic stage uses analytical thinking. The next stage is rhetoric, and that is more high school age. It applies the rules of logic to the foundational skills that they learned in the younger stage. I just wanted to mention a couple of materials that would be great if you're interested in classical education. So The Well-Trained Mind is a classic by Susan Wise Bauer and Jesse Wise. This is a guide to classical education at home, and I've referred to this quite a bit. She has a lot of good suggestions in here. So it's not a joke. Like, this is a pretty hefty book, but it's a material book, so you don't have to sit there and read the whole thing all at once. It's a great reference guide and starting off point if you're interested in the classical method. And we were also in classical conversations for many years. So this is the foundations guide, and it goes through 3 different cycles, and it pretty much covers so much. So the math is the same every year, and the timeline is the same every year. So those things are repeated, but I believe it's different Latin each year. And then the science is different. The English, so it goes through different grammar things. There's a history sentence. There's geography. I really recommend this. So this could be, even if you don't join a group, which I should probably do a whole separate video just on classical conversations, but if you don't want to join the co-op and you want the book, anybody can buy the book from the bookstore, and they also sell CDs, and they have an app in the App Store. They have an app for each cycle. And so this is great for just memorizing. If you want to incorporate that in your morning time, and maybe right after your devotion. This is really great. My kids still refer to things like, oh, who was the first man to walk on the moon? They memorized a song that was in the history portion, so they can sing that song in their head, and then they know, oh, okay, it was Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, and they know it was 1969 because of the song. And the classical method also goes in chronological order. So typically you start in the ancient times, and everything's kind of related. So if you're studying ancient times in history, then for science, you could relate who were the scientists around that time. What are some scientific principles they learned at that time? And if there's any poets or writers at that time, you could incorporate those things into your language arts. And so I like how logical and linear it seems to be. Okay, the next one I'm going to talk about is Charlotte Mason. And you've probably heard of Charlotte Mason before and living books. So what exactly is this method, and what are living books? So living books are like the opposite of textbooks. You can read a biography and that would be considered a living book. Or if doing a nature journal would be a living book, because that's your own observation of the nature around you in your location. And it's just trying to observe and take true accounts and weave it all together and relate it. And you're not just doing like a drive-by real quick of, oh, okay, here's a paragraph of what the Cold War was. It's like, no, if you're doing Charlotte Mason, then you will get some maybe biographies from that time or read some news articles from that time. You're using living sources and trying to learn about something and getting the whole picture, not just a little highly edited little clip in a textbook. And Charlotte Mason believed that kids should be treated as people who can actually learn and understand the world around them, and just treat them as a regular person, not as this little thing that needs everything changed to be on their level. It encourages narration so that the children can think more clearly, dictation, especially scripture. With my son this year, Seasons of Field, and that completely embodies Charlotte Mason because it uses nature study as well as science and just weaves it all together beautifully. If you are interested in the Charlotte Mason method, I highly recommend this book by Susan Schaefer Macaulay called For the Children's Sake, Foundations of Education for Home and School. This is a very, very, very good book if you want to do Charlotte Mason. Unschooling. Okay, if you ask 20 different unschoolers how to define unschooling, you may get 20 different answers. But basically, unschooling is child-led learning. The parent is merely the facilitator, but that doesn't mean that the parent doesn't get involved at all. Unschooling often takes a lot of time and effort, just as much as traditional schooling. Unschooling focuses on the premise that kids are natural born learners. They want to learn and observe the world around them, and it allows them the freedom to do that. Kids don't have to be forced to learn, and if you do force them, they often resist and don't retain the information. We learn all day, every day, as we follow our interests. Although some kids may spend hours and hours on video games, they are just as likely to be reading all day or exploring outside all day. It's all very much based on the child's interests. So on their own time, this whole unschooling method believes that kids will discover so much and learn a lot when they are left to explore that on their own. And they'll also have more enthusiasm to do so. If you are interested at all in unschooling, this author, John Holt, and he has more than just How Children Learn. He has some other books as well, but his is very interesting. It's definitely not Christian. He observed children over a long period of time and how they learn. And so if you're at all interested in unschooling, or even if you just want to know a little bit more, because I think as homeschool moms, we should be pouring into ourselves and treating this as continuous education, I encourage you to check this out and some of John Holt's other books. And you may be able to find them at the library. Some of them are a bit old. Eclectic homeschoolers are next. So eclectic homeschoolers are less goal-based. They worry less about schedules and milestones, and they may use a formal curriculum for a subject or two, but they don't think that that child has to do those curriculums every single day. It's just more relaxed. And typically doing a formal math curriculum is what keeps eclectic homeschoolers from being officially unschoolers. Unit studies is another popular homeschooling style, and unit studies can be done many different ways, but it incorporates several different subjects into one theme. Gather Round is an excellent example of a unit study because they will take something like North American birds, and although they don't incorporate math into the curriculum, and that's probably a good thing because math is very based on the child's ability and their age and grade level and things like that. So besides math, everything is supposed to be in that. So it'll all have to do with North American birds, but they will incorporate English and science and history and probably art and all these things into one curriculum based on North American birds. That is the unit that they are basing it on. But it could be based on a historical event, a holiday. So around Christmas time, a lot of people do like all of December, they just do like a Christmas-based unit study of homeschooling that month. It could be based on a location or a person, or if your child is interested in horses, you could do a whole horse thing. You could get Billy Blaze books for their independent reading. You could get some more scientific books at the library about horses. You could incorporate art that have horses into your homeschool. And so really the sky is the limit on what you can do for unit studies. They can be really fun, and this is a really good way to kind of switch things up if you want to do different things. So I like unit studies when it comes to like science and history. But for our math and our language arts, I like to stick with what I know and what I know works for my kids. And I know there's not going to be like gaps and holes and things like that. So I like to stick to what I know for those. And then history and science, do more of unit studies, with the exception of like Christmas. I would be open to doing a Christmas unit study for December. I've never done it, but it sounds like it could be fun. So hopefully, whether you're brand new to homeschooling and confused by all of these terms being thrown around, or if you've been homeschooling for a long time and you just didn't really know what these different things were, then maybe you can identify what you are. So please put in the box below what kind of homeschooling style or styles you like to do, and anything else that you would like me to share or do some research on and share a video with you, please put it down below. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.